And we're back, episode 2 of Spring into Action. This is the series of videos that I'm putting together specifically for real estate agents coming up into spring, which is why I've creatively called this series Spring into Action, because it is your most important month. It's when buyers and sellers get active, and it's where real estate agents need to get just as active to match the pace of the market and set yourself up for a massive start to next year. And today's special guest is a guy that I know pretty well. His name's Darren Prattley, and he'll be on straight after this. Here we are. Welcome to the show, Darren. As I said just there, don't think, just do. Spring into Action is all about getting real estate agents up and about. There's been a bit of a funk in the market after all the twists and turns that we've been navigating, but we are here to set them straight, and I can't think of a better guy to do it than you, Mr. Motivation himself, all the way from New Zealand. Round of applause for Darren Prattley, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. There they are.
Jonathan, good to see you, mate. How are you?
I'm very good. Good to see you too. How are things over the ditch?
I think they're pretty much the same as what's happening over there by all accounts. We're finally starting to dry out a wee bit, though, which is really nice. We've had the wettest month in New Zealand's history. So we started to dry out, which is nice. Nice.
The poor people of Huntly.
Yes, they've been flooded, mate. Flooded.
Not literally the poor people of Huntly. That was not a mispronounced. That was, oh my God, I'll just stop there. All right, so Spring into Action is all about getting real estate agents motivated. Have you noticed, like I have, Darren, that coming into this spring, people just seem to be a bit tired, a bit distracted, pointing the finger at all the problems in the world, just not really up and about like they need to be. And I sort of noticed it across a couple of different clients I'm working with, and I thought, you know what? It's time to do something. It's time for me to spring into action so that they can spring into action. And so I came up with this idea for this show. It'll get emailed out to the database. It'll live on YouTube, and I want it to be a motivating piece for everyone across the board. Have you noticed it yourself?
Oh, mate, you are so right, because this is exactly what we've been experiencing over the last 3 months, really. I've been saying for the last month that I think actually New Zealand is in a state of depression. We're in a situation where we are coming out of the COVID and still in, the COVID hangover, and we've still got a lot of government restrictions, and it's weighing the country down. And we've got a lot of people and a lot of businesses that are in difficult industries and are really struggling. But one of the things that I've noticed is that there seems to be an acceptance and an apathy around that performance and the slackness that is in the market at the moment. And I just really want people to start thinking about the only way we're going to get out of this is to get out of it. And I've been really pushing the clients that I work with in the conferences that I've been doing is just to get people starting to think about, I've got lots of clients right now that have been on holiday, right? They've taken a week off, taken 2 weeks off. Darren, I'm tired. I want to recharge. They've come back into their businesses. And do you know what they've told me? Darren, since I've been back, I feel tired. And I just want people to start to realize that this is actually a mental state that we've got ourselves into. And it just means that we have got to start determining our future and getting a plan in place of what we need to be doing rather than this accepting of what we've got. And I really am pushing really hard at the moment to get my teams to really start thinking about where do they want to go and what are the plans that we need to have in place, because I just feel there's this really apathy and this really acceptance of the way the market is, and not getting out there doing the things that we need to do.
Yeah, I think especially from here, we had, like Auckland, like a lot of New Zealand, we had long lockdowns. And I think it's sort of untrained people in a sense, like they're not match fit. And, I think the way to get match fit in this game is to just get going, get on the phone and get going. And it's about breaking down that barrier, I think, and getting them to do it.
But again, it's that confidence, right? When you haven't, and sort of we've accepted it, right? This is the thing that most business owners have gone. I'm happy that you work from home. I'm happy that you move your desktop computer from the office to home now and work from home. And there's just an acceptance of the level of performance. And I'm sick this week, and I'm sorry I'm away, and half my team are not here. And I'm just going, yep, I totally understand that. But what we've got to start to realize is that doesn't drive our business. That's not like we were in 2019. And I get all my business owners to start thinking back to 2019. What were we like that year, right? We were in a tougher financial environment. We're starting to see some benefits of some lower rates. We were starting to get a sense that, hey, that there was some opportunity coming in the marketplace. But then all of a sudden with COVID hitting, it changed the game. Now, you can't say it hasn't been bad for the real estate industry, but what it's done is it's actually put us into a position we've sort of defaulted to accepting that the market is going to drive the activity in my business. The market is going to dictate what I do every day. And now we've got a marketplace that isn't doing that. We've got a whole lot of people sitting in the office drinking coffee going, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, it's really interesting. This is the one thing that doesn't compute with me. And this sounds like one of our, by the way, Darren and I have a top podcast called Blink, BL-INK. Top 100, I believe. I don't know how many podcasts there are in New Zealand, probably 101. We're in the top 100. So, but this sounds like one of those episodes. But we will get to how we can help you very shortly. But I think we need to best understand the market. The one thing that's not connecting with me and not clicking in the whole scheme of society at the moment is that there's a real shortage and a real demand for rental properties. Yet the government and business united are claiming that they don't have enough staff, that they've got a shortage of skills. And so the governments are thinking, how can we bring workers in? We're actually stealing workers from New Zealand, particularly teachers. We're paying them an extraordinary upfront amount, like in the tens of thousands, to get them here to teach. But while we've got this skill shortage and lack of people around, like there are jobs that are just going completely unfilled, unemployment's at a record low, there's no rental properties. There's no rental space. So if we bring in these extra workers, where are they going to live? So that doesn't match with me. It's like there's a massive demand for real estate around rent rolls and property management and getting your properties up and about and getting top dollar for them, which usually then flows on to the buying market because supply and demand. So we're seeing all these good signs on the ground. Maybe transaction wait periods or length of transaction periods have stretched out a little bit, but none of the agents I've spoken to have seen a massive drop in prices. Maybe a correction, but not a massive drop that would worry about.
Yeah, but this is the piece, right? And this is what's happening in the market at the moment, right? This is one of the key things that we're having over here as well, is in the media right now, our media over here are telling the market that you're going to have a drop in house prices of 20%. Right? So house prices are going to drop 20%. Now, if you're a buyer or someone's getting into the first home buying market and someone tells you that the house prices are going to drop 20%, what are you going to do?
You're going to do nothing. That's what you're going to do. You're
going to wait, right? So what do we've got everybody sitting out there at the market saying, hey, our stock levels are gradually starting to rise. So we're starting to see a lift in stock numbers. But the problem is we haven't got our buyers. And our buyers are sitting there going, well, actually, I don't need to buy right now because actually house price is going to drop 20%. Now, all those fundamentals that you just talked about right then, they say to me, there ain't going to be a drop of 20%. And in fact, we could probably see an actual increase in house prices. And the reason that's going to happen is, again, supply and demand. And in New Zealand, we have a situation where we can't build enough houses fast enough. We're in a situation where we're going through a bit of a building boom because there's so much demand. Yet we're in a situation right now, we can't get workers, we can't get labour to be able to make those happen. And we've just got a holding pattern very much around new subdivisions. So we're in a situation at the moment where, again, these behaviours of the market are really filtering into the offices that I'm working in. And people are just sort of going, oh, well, that's the way the market is. I'm just going to accept that. And I just don't think it's good enough. I really don't.
No, I think that's the other piece of the puzzle, right? Is that there is a demand for housing. There's a demand for building, but all the building companies are going broke. I think we've had like 1,000. We've had 1,000 go broke this quarter.
But we're just starting to see that. Again, when you look at the core behaviours of that industry sector, that development area, they have been living on a very, very high saleable trend. I mean, how many house developments have you seen over that 2.5 years that sold off the plans, right? Heaps of them. It was just crazy. Everyone wanted to buy, get in. But you see, so what a lot of those developer companies did was that they started to say, well, if that's the level of demand, then we're just going to keep building at the level we are, not realizing that that's not the real real estate market.
Yeah.
That was a period of time fueled by government spending, fueled by money in the marketplace, and also by our country people not traveling. Like, if you're not going to travel, you're not going to take your overseas holidays, all of a sudden you've got a bank balance that's growing in your bank account. And knowing most Aussies and New Zealanders, what do we want to do? Spend it. And where do we spend it? Real estate.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think a lot of people, I think you and I took some massive hits in COVID, but there was still like cash around. It was weird. It was like
amazing.
It was like as you said, there's a state of, I don't throw the word depression around, but there is a state of depression that was floating around, but still had cash in the bank. And the depression was that we weren't active. And that's why we're doing this, to get active. If you can get active, I truly believe this. If you can take action over the next 21 days, just every day, hold yourself accountable and get active, you'll dig your way out of this funk. The sun will be shining again. The footy finals are just around the corner. Everyone loves that time. Spring racing carnivals in Melbourne and Sydney. People start going out and about. Like, in the next 21 days, that is where these things are going to change. So, Darren, give me your advice. If you're a agency owner, leader, if you're an actual agent, salesperson who's maybe struggling a little bit to get out of it, you've been on your Bali holiday and you've come back tired, or if you're looking to get into real estate, I think it's a fantastic time to get into real estate. I really do. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of people who are close to finishing, and this will be the bad news, that they're like, you know what? I've had a good run for 25 years. I don't need to keep going for another 2 or 3. I'm going to tap out. And so I think, it's time for some new blood from different industries. What do you reckon?
Oh, the opportunities right now are huge, right? But this is the challenge that we've got. We've got an environment that is going through some flux in terms of where it's at and where it's going to go. And what we've got to start to realize now, that there is some real change in behaviors or change in what we're doing in our businesses to make sure that we gain some extra success. So it's a case about the where we're working and how much time we're putting into that work, I think, is the critical part.
And so your advice to agency owners who maybe have a team who's in a bit of a funk, how do we get them going?
So I've been in lots of offices over the last couple of weeks, mate. So I've been racing around New Zealand like a crazy person, going into different real estate offices. One of the things that I've been keeping an eye on
pretty brave move too, because sorry, I won't interrupt you. I was going to say pretty brave too, to get around on those planes with propellers, not jets.
You're right.
Anyway, let's go. Sorry, it was the most hype. It was the most valuable thing you were going to say this whole 13 minutes, and I interrupted it with a really bad joke. I apologize.
Right, number one for me is, as I've been going around these offices, I'm looking around the office going, okay, show me, what is our plan for this month, right? What's our target? What are we trying to hit here? What's the sale number? What's the listing number? How many appraisals do we need? How many calls do we need to make? How many face-to-face meetings do we need, right? And do you know what I've been saying? Nothing. No plan, no visual outline of exactly, as a team, where we're headed. So what I'm encouraging owners and sales managers to do around the place is to get a sales target for this month. Okay, so if it's September, how many appraisals do you want? How many new listings do you want? And what I want you to do is to make that visual in the office. I've got quite a few offices now putting a prize in place. So as a team prize, hey, look, if we meet this target, we're as a group going to go out for dinner at the end of the month if we meet this target. So what I'm doing is looking to create that sense of, hey, we've got a target as a team, and then individually having a conversation with your team, and I'm encouraging them to do it one-on-one. Sit down and say, how much are you as an agent going to contribute towards that team goal? All right? Because what we need to do is to start getting these sales individuals to start getting back to that sales culture of having a target, driving towards it, and actually going to get it, rather than expecting the market is just going to give us the result. Because over the last 2.5 years, man, I've seen a lot of offices that have made massive money without actually really having to do a hell of a lot. and because the market's driven the level of activity. So what I'm encouraging people to do now is to actually get a 3-month plan. September, October, November. Those 3 months should have a very clear plan. It needs to be written down. It's got to have targets, and it's got to have some outcome goals that you want to achieve. And you've got to communicate that to every single person in the business, from admin to property management to the sales team to the sales managers and the owners. And we are all committed to getting that business back on track again. And I think that for me is to get those targets out visible and actually make it a really key focus for our business. I mean, I've just got one that just texted me this morning and said, hey, Darren, this is our campaign that we're going to do for the sales team for September. It's got a dinner on it at a really nice restaurant. And at the end of the month, if they achieve it, I've already had 2 or 3 people from the sales team going, oh, man, I want to go to that restaurant. I'm going to be pushing hard. And it just lifts the energy of the environment. And that's just with one small campaign.
And then they're all working towards a common goal. So they're celebrating each other's victories rather than sitting there and getting a bit sour if one person has a good run. Yeah, that can add to
and also too, there's nothing better for your numbers in October is to have somebody sitting in a celebratory dinner at the end of September knowing that they haven't quite contributed enough to be eating the food or drinking the wine that they are. Because I tell you what, it makes them think that in October, I'm actually going to pull my finger out and I'm going to do some work. And that's the key here, right? It's about building that team culture. It's building that ambition and getting that sales energy back into our environment. It's so important.
No sales, no sticky date pudding, I reckon. I think it's a great idea.
Love it.
Number 2, what do you reckon? Talking to individual agents. So that's a great thing to do from a leadership point of view. Unite your team. Give them a plan. Give them the strategy. If they can see where they need to go, then they're going to go there. It's monkey see, monkey do here.
But if you're an individual salesperson, do the same, right?
Yeah.
Have in front of your desk, what is the sales number that you're going to drive towards for this month? How much are you going to get? How many appraisals are you going to do? How many listings are you going to get? How many face-to-face meetings are you going to have with your client base? And put that up in front of you on your desk. Do you know why most salespeople hate putting those sales numbers up?
Because then they've got to be held accountable.
You got it. And all of a sudden, what you've got to do is you've got to change that mentality of me being accountable to a number that I know I can't achieve to actually a number that I know that I'm going to strive to achieve. And that's what we need to bring back into this game. It's not the market dictating the result. It's us getting out there and creating our result. And that's what we've got to be really focused on.
I think we've spoken about this previously, but we'll raise it here, is Elon Musk's quote that if you give yourself 10 hours to do a task, you'll take 10 hours. If you give yourself 2 hours to do the same task, you'll get it done too. And so do that with your numbers, guys. Do that with your numbers. Set yourself a task, 20 appraisals, 24 appraisals, 30 appraisals, whatever it is. Go a bit higher than you expect and strive for it. If you get to 27, well, 27's better than aiming for 10 and finishing at 10.
So I do a whole session on time management for real estate agents. And one of the things we talk about is how to get more done in a day. What are the systems? What are the processes? What are the things we can do to be more efficient in that space? And you did right. Just by being able to go, actually, when I push myself, I'm going to go a bit harder, or I'm going to get rid of some distractions. Or I'm going to focus on making sure I'm only going to work on the things that create my result. That's what you need, right? It's because that's what helps us create that workflow that gets us to those higher targets. So, so important, mate. Really, really important.
So get active, get going, set yourself goals that people can see, that you look at every day when you sit down, but other people see them too. And do you mark down and record how you're going along the way, or do you keep that to yourself? What do you do?
Shit, yes, that's what we're about. Like if you're behind, then you got to work a bit harder. If you're ahead, keep going. This is what it's about. We've got to actually put these structures in place to actually support our team, but 2, your own personal mental state, and that's what we want here, right?
Yeah, and this works across all industries, not just real estate. Just measure and track, measure and track, measure and track,
and celebrate the successes.
Yeah, whether it's content, whether it's real estate appraisals, just volume into the funnel, right?
Yep.
All right. Last one. Anything?
I've got number 2. Hold on, I'm giving you number 2, yeah?
Oh, I thought that was number 2. Okay, wow. We've got a bonus. We've got a 1 and a 1.A. Now we're going to number 2. Let's go.
So one of the things that I want people to think about now is at the moment is change the message, right? Because what a common message is in real estate is, you think you're selling your home? Would you like an appraisal? Are you think you're selling? Would you like an appraisal? Would you like an appraisal? Are you think you're selling your home? Would you like an appraisal? And the thing is that the market at the moment doesn't need that message, right? What it needs is to show that you are not a salesperson, but a trusted advisor in real estate. So that's my key topic, and that's one of the areas that I work in a lot, is helping an industry move from being what I would call a sales-based transactional industry to a professional advice-based industry. And this is the thing for me, is what I really want you to be thinking about here is, now I'll give you just one simple example. Get a piece of A4 paper. Down the left-hand side of the page, put the numbers 1 to 8. And then actually write down the list. What are the 8 key things that you would suggest or get a customer to do to improve the value of their home prior to sale?
Yeah.
Right? What are the 8 things? So what you do is you write down your 8 things. Now, what you want to do is, so there's a lot of software platforms at the moment that you can mass out a communication to your database, and like an email that goes out and says, what are the 8 things that you could do to improve the value of your home before sale? You know for a fact that anybody that opens that email are most likely going to be interested in real estate, right? And doing something. So what we're doing is we're starting to be seen as the trusted real estate advisor, and not this bloody, do you want to sell your house? You think you're selling? You think you're selling? Would you like an appraisal? Would you like an appraisal? And I'm just going, that's just nuts. We can't behave like that anymore. The customer, A, doesn't need it, B, doesn't want it, and actually what they need is better advice. And the way this market is playing out at the moment, those agents that provide better advice, and you're seeing that with your customers, because I know we've already talked about this, is that if those customers, those clients of ours in the real estate space that are providing advice to their real estate markets are the ones that are getting consistently growth in their business. And that's, for me now, is where the future is going to be, and we've got to play that game.
Yeah, and I think there's a real self-awareness around that too. It's like, hey, you're in a funk, you're tired as a real estate agent. Well, guess what? So are other people. And you know what? The last thing they need is a typical real estate agent coming in and saying, let's go, 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 go. Come on, we need it for my numbers. And it sort of sweats a little bit of desperation when they do it. You know, you can smell it. And it's the first thing that's going to repel someone away. They're going to be like, hey, hold on. This guy's in it for more than just me or girl. That happens on all sides. There's a bit of sweat in this. There's something a bit urgent, and that makes me nervous. I'm going to back away, and there's no deal done. 100%. But you're 100% right. Value add. Be human. Be human. Think about what's going on in your life, because it'll be going on, and other people will be feeling it too.
You think about it, mate. You go to your doctor. Doctor sits here in front of them. Do you want an operation? Do you want an operation? Would you like some medication? Would you like some operation? We actually don't know what my problem is yet. Yeah, I know, but it's important. This time of the year, you need some medication. You need an operation. That's what you need, right? And you're basically sitting there in a situation going, actually, this isn't what I want. I want a conversation. I want an understanding about where I need to go in my real estate journey, and I want to understand that you're going to be my advisor for the next 40 years.
Yeah. So true. So true. I love number 2. Number 2 is good. All right, number 3. We got a 3.
So number 3 is go get your buyers. So one of the things that I've noticed is, especially over the last 7 months, is we've seen buyer activity fall off dramatically, right? So we've had a situation where buyers have sort of become unmotivated. They're not really interested in real estate at the moment. Why? Because the media keeps telling them that there's a 20% drop in real estate prices coming. So if you're a buyer, you just go, actually, I'm in no hurry here. But you see what's happened, which is the kicker, is that interest rates have gone up, right? So with interest rates going up, your borrowing ability actually goes down. So we're in a situation that while you're waiting for your 20% house price reduction to arrive, your borrowing ability is going down, so you can afford less. And then we're also starting to realize now that actually house prices aren't going down. This isn't really happening in the marketplace. And what we're now starting to realize is actually, in fact, house prices could actually go up.
Interestingly,
so
interesting. On episode 1, we had Chris Henry, a show I know that you've got saved to watch on your next flight. He was saying that house prices dropping off a little bit in his area of regional New South Wales won't be too bad a thing, because he said it'll increase flow. So as long as it'll become more affordable, because exactly that, interest rates have put a cap on what people are going to borrow. So having price properties drop down means that you'll see more activity in the market, but it also means for the person who's selling, you'll also be able to buy cheap too. So,
Mate, you know what? This house price reduction thing, I'm not convinced. I'm really not. I'm looking at it like I think what we're seeing is a reduction in the perceived value of a home, right? So this is what you think my home is worth. I think we're seeing a reduction in that, and I think the good old media is helping us with our education of the owners, you know, the vendors of the properties. But what I just am not seeing is that and this is where I'm really picking up on that buyer bit, is that you've got to go get your buyers. You've got to go and have a conversation with them again and saying, you know what, you could actually be getting caught here in the perfect storm. You could be in a situation where you're waiting and it just means that you actually miss out getting into the market completely. So, but the pieces that I just want to emphasize on here, you can't have that conversation on the phone. No. So you've actually got to get out of your office and turn up in front of your buyers and have some conversations with them again. But in real estate over the last 2 or 3 years, seriously, I'd be struggling to get on one hand the number of face-to-face meetings that real estate agents have had with buyers where there wasn't a contract being signed. Right. So we're in a situation at the moment where we have to educate our buyers. We have to be in front of them. We have to sit down. We have to understand their position. We have to make sure they're getting to a mortgage broker to get their finance approved. You've got to make sure that those processes are in place so that you're manufacturing your buyers again. Whereas over the last 2.5 years, we haven't had to do that. Right. But this is a new skill that those agents that are doing it, oh my goodness, are just doing amazing numbers still, you know? And I think right now for me, you've got to go get your buyers.
Yeah, I think there are two speeds of agents at the moment. I think there's the ones who are continuing to be farmers. A guy who I really respect taught me this saying. There are those who are out there being farmers and they're getting stuck in the mud with the pigs. And then there are the hunters who are out and about and on top of the ground and moving and going and meeting everybody. They're everywhere. And the hunters...
Covering the ground.
Yeah, covering the ground. And it's time to be a hunter. Switch
your
mode.
So it's about being that hunter, but the biggest thing I really encourage here is making sure you get those sit-down face-to-face conversations where it's over a cup of tea or it's over a cup of coffee or it's over a glass of wine. It's a conversation because you've got to get to the bottom of what is the desire, what's the dream, what's the direction that customer wants to go in, not just in this transaction, but in the future, so that you can start to provide a much more holistic service. And you know what? They will start to come to the party when you start doing this much more because they see you as the advisor and someone who's going to help them, support them through these challenging times. And I think right now we need that, right?
Yeah, and I also think, you know, if you want to start those conversations and to feed them and propagate them so that they happen, is start setting the narrative straight via your own social media. You mentioned it before. Mainstream media is happily smashing the real estate industry with this doom and gloom narrative. It's happening here in Australia. It's happening in New Zealand. It's happening in America because real estate is such an interesting topic for so many people. They get clicks off the back of it. So if they predict the doom and gloom, and disappointingly, I think this week and last week, the head of the ANZ Bank came out and added to it. He played straight into the News Corp playbook, and I think did it strategically on purpose to try and get ANZ some free publicity. But what they're doing is they're actually happily doing it at the cost of the local real estate market. They're putting doubt in the market. It's slowing things down. It's making it harder for the people that we work with. Well, it's time for them to fight back. It's time for them to spring into action. Tell your market, communicate with your market via social media. You've got the tools in the palm of your hand now. Tell them what you're seeing. Show them some of your numbers. Show them some of your results, not in a real estate-y way, but in a news reporter on the ground way. Okay, this is what we're hearing in the mainstream media, but on my weekend or in my patch, this is what I'm seeing happening. These are the results I'm getting, right? Get out there and set your own narrative because they're going to pay more attention to you on social media than they're going to on news.com.au or whatever the New Zealand version of that is.
So, you know, number one, we see today create some targets, right? Some targets to strive for. So this is a good one for managers and owners. So what I'd like you to have a think about is actually tracking the number of market updates or market insight social media posts that your team put up, right, in a month. So track it. Say, okay, team, in this month, how many social media posts have we put up that is about market intel, market update, market advice, market information? How many of those have you done? Right? And you have managers sitting there going, well, I wouldn't have a clue. And I'm going, well, make it a target then. And do you know what? Oh, I'm not sure the quality of how good my team will be. I'm not sure, what the quality will be. Well, get bloody Jonathan into your office for a day, teach your team how to create these videos, then get a common view of what's happening in the patch, and then start creating the content, right? It's no harder than that. And I just go, right now, this is the messaging that we've got to get back out there into the marketplace to get this engagement up and also support our sales teams. So I think it's a great topic.
Yeah, I think it's that measurement plan and measure strategy is, I think it's business 101, but so many people overlook it.
And especially when the market has driven your business for the last 2.5 years, right? When the market's driven your result, you don't have to do much, right? The market's doing great. We're making shitloads. It's all great. My challenge is actually now the market isn't going great. Yes, it is harder. Yes, we do have to work harder. We've fallen off that boat a bit. So I hope those 3 key points for me at the moment are really, really good for both sales teams and owners and managers. And I really think that that's a great place for them to focus, especially for the next 2 or 3 months.
Mate, it's been awesome as always. Thank you very much for your time. I know you've got a big gig today. Where are you going today? Who are you speaking to?
On the North Shore in Auckland today, 400 people conference. That's quite a biggie, which is good. Yeah. So it's good to see everybody getting in the room and, people flying in from around the place. So it's really good to be able to feel that, I get a sense now that we're starting to push through this COVID hangover. So to be able to get to an event like that and to fire it up a bit and to put some energy in the room, I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks, mate. This has been awesome. This is a great initiative. And I think for business owners and managers and sales teams around the country, I think this is such a cool thing for you to put in place and to get some other people that can add to their environments. I think is a great way to spread the word. So thanks, mate. And great to see you.
Yeah, I think great points. Measure and be human. Don't be shouty. Don't be that typical shouty real estate guy or girl. Get out there, be human. Connect. Set your narrative and inform people. Help. If you help them, funny things happen, right? If you just help.
Totally.
Just help them.
Awesome.
Thank you, mate. Spring into Action, episode 2. Darren Prattley. What a wealth of knowledge. And see you on the next one. Peace.
Good stuff. See you, mate.
See you, buddy.